This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this will be like a vitamin or a supplement for your heart and mind. And wherever you receive podcasts, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. You can find Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom at iTunes, at Spotify, at Stitcher, Podbean, just about anywhere podcasts are found. Today I want to speak about getting back on track. Depending on where you are and what's happening, there has been a disruption, or at the very minimum, an interruption that has thrown most, if not all of us, slightly off the track. We've had to recalibrate, regroup, and hopefully now re-enter. There's nothing wrong with getting off track. It's going to happen. There may be something wrong with it, but it's unavoidable. It's going to happen. I believe what we've been going through is about as legitimate reason to get thrown off track as you can do. But perhaps you're waking up and you're realizing things are maybe not going to be what old normal was, but there's going to be a new normal. And in order to participate in that, we are going to have to get ourselves back on track. What should we do? And I'm going to give us about 8 reasons, 8 ideas of getting ourselves back on track. The very first one is develop, but probably more correctly, redevelop a regular schedule. Now, I have a particular position where no 2 days are exactly the same. And there was a time when I was resistant, when I'd read a book or I'd be in a seminar or a lecture of some sort, and someone would say, come up with a template for what your ideal work week would be. And I would say to myself, I don't have an ideal work week. No 2 weeks, hardly are 2 days the same. But that was, in essence, an ultimate cop-out. Because what happens is, and I'm not saying that what I had thought was incorrect. Yes, my days and weeks are not always the same, but there are some basic building blocks. And the problem is, anytime we try to make normal the exception, we lose a lot of productivity value. So the important thing, before you can be wise enough to know what ways to act for the exceptions, you have to know what the rules are. And so I sat down, forced myself many years ago to come up with a template, an example of if I had a normal week, here's how I would block the time, here's how I would use my time with which to be productive. Now, it is always good, whatever we're doing, to go back and to reevaluate, make adjustments, because there were things that seemed appropriate and important in a particular point in time, but they may have lost their usefulness, and you may have other things that you need to be doing. So getting back on track right now is develop or redevelop a regular schedule. Perhaps your regular schedule today will be much different than what your regular schedule looked like even 6 months ago. So as you're getting ready to get back into it and starting up again, why don't you sit down with the template of what your ordinary work week would be and redevelop it? To just start, you don't have to necessarily start at square one, but just think through where you are today, what is happening, and then begin and decide, here is with what I have to do now and where I am at this point in my life, my career, here is my regular schedule. What happens then, not only does it give you a roadmap for those weeks that we're talking about, it's also a great guide for when you do have exceptional and different activities involved in a week. What on your schedule can you modify? What can you move to another time? And what can you put off for a period of time? You really don't have confidence in doing that until you know what your regular, ordinary schedule looks like. So the very first thing I would say to you today is discover how you're going to get yourself back on track and that would be by developing what your regular schedule is. The second point that I want to make today is start small. Whenever we have been out of practice at something, or an area of our life to us feels out of control and may in fact be out of control, we try to start with giant leaps and enormous ways of making that happen, when what you really need to do is start small. Find an area, find a habit, find an activity. Now, it can be as simple as what I did today. I got back into my listing, making a list rather, got back into my morning and evening routines. And the best thing that I can tell you to do in that area is start small. I ordered 3 things that I must get done today, including one of them was recording this podcast. So you have to start small. That when we need to lose weight, we make unbelievable commitments. I'm going to lose 50 pounds in a month. I'm going to run a marathon next month. They're impossible. You don't start by losing 50 pounds. You don't start by running a marathon. You start by taking small but significant steps that over time will get you to the big results. So one of those things is just pick 2, 3, 4 things today that you really need to do and just put your head down and do them. And by starting small, you'll re-energize yourself. You'll get some important things accomplished. And there is nothing that helps us feel a little more euphoric than getting some tasks accomplished. And start small. All big, significant changes that have happened in a person's life always start small. So that would be what I would say is the second step to getting back on track. Here's the third thing that I'm going to say to you today. Stop and pause sometime today and ask yourself, during this little setback, during this little unusual time that we've all gone through, what are lessons that I have learned? It was Albert Einstein who said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution. What has been the problem? What has happened? What are the lessons you have learned? What are things now that you will do differently? Before we just rush back in and try to do our best to bring everything to normal, or at least to whatever a new way of normal looks, what have you learned? What are the lessons? How are you going to apply them? How will the lessons learned be applied to make you more effective, efficient, and what have you learned? I think one of the small things that I've learned right off is how important it is to have boundaries and order to your life. For when you don't have it, it's like a vacation. It seems fun the first few days, maybe a week or two, but after that you long for the routine, and I think many of us are longing for the routine that gives our life color and texture and, more importantly, boundaries. I think we've learned lessons of how important spirituality is, how important our faith is, how important our family and our friends are. And those are lessons that we can just take with us. We already knew it. It probably has come home in more significant and clear ways. So as you're seeking to get back on track, make sure you take some time out at the beginning and evaluate what lessons have I learned. I think the next thing, which is the fourth step as you're getting back on track, is just commit yourself to getting them back on track. Don't kick yourself for getting off track. Don't kick yourself that you should have and could have done better. Just make a commitment today. From today forward, I'm committed to getting back on track and getting things accomplished. Peter Drucker said, unless a commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, but no plans. Commitment and plans are twins. They need each other. When you have a commitment, you're committing to getting back on track, to getting healthier, to save for retirement, to get out of debt, to start reading your Bible, to learn a particular skill, to start a project. Before you come up with the plan, you have to have a commitment to that. So commit the lessons learned, and you're going to make a plan. The fifth thing that I would say that you need to do as you're getting back on track is go back to making your environment conducive to getting things done. One of the things that this time off has done for many people is it's helped them to declutter their workspaces, their closets, their garages, to get everything in its place and to get everything back in order. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And make sure you don't have distractions that are in the environment that you use for when you're working on projects and you're working through your lists and you're doing the things you need to do. If there are certain things you need, for instance, every evening, I look at what I'm going to be doing the next day and I make sure that I have all the files, I have all the tools, I have all of the emails, I have everything I need in order to push through that. That's called making my environment conducive to getting things done. The sixth thing that I would say is hold yourself accountable. We got off track. It was through no fault of any of us, but it just happened. But now to get back on track and to move ahead and to get things done, we must hold ourselves accountable. Yes, we can, at one time in our life, our parents held us accountable. Our spouses can, in certain ways, keep us accountable. Our bosses, all of those things. But the most important person to hold you accountable is yourself. If what you are attempting to do is significant and important enough to you, then you absolutely must hold yourself accountable. No one else is responsible to get these things done but you. You are the CEO, chief CFO of your own life. You must hold yourself accountable if you're going to get these things done. Now, I've just talked to you about for the seventh one, of getting back on track and re-looking at everything and what lessons have we learned. Let's start small and commit and create the environment and hold ourselves accountable. But I have another one. It's under the flexibility banner, and it is mix it up. I've discovered that at times there's a boredom that comes if every day looks like the day that just preceded it. Therefore, mix it up. You know, I'm a believer that when you have projects to do or items to do that take a lot of creativity and a lot of thinking, find that time of the day when you are flowing that way and put them on your calendar at that time. For me, it'll be different for you, but for me, it's earlier in the morning. That's when I'm creative, that's when I'm fresh, that's when I can really put my head down, plow through, and get the things done. But if for you it's the afternoon, that's fine. Put things that don't take quite the mental strain and put them on your calendar for the times when you're more tired, but you still are able to get those things done. Mix it up. Take a time off when you need it. Celebrate a Sabbath. Honor that. Mix it up. Spend time with people. Don't just work. You have to do all of those things. So make sure you mix it up. The final thing that I want to say about all of this is today is the best day to start. Now, you've heard me say it before. The best time to have started saving for retirement was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. It comes from an old proverb that said the best time to have planted an oak tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. The best time to have gotten these projects done may have been months or weeks ago, but the second best day to start is today. No excuses, no complaints, no fault finding, no finger pointing. Just make up your mind that whenever you are listening to this podcast, today is the best day for you to restart. Today is the best day for you to begin chasing your dream. Today is the best day for you to begin fulfilling the promise that you've made to yourself and to others. Today is the only day we have. Someday isn't on a calendar. Today is really the best day for you to begin a day. Come on, gang. Let's all of us do our best today to get back on track. You have been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this was like a vitamin or supplement for your mind and heart. And again, wherever you receive podcasts, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. Remember, my leadership friend, we have been through a lot in these days, and I want you to know, and I believe it from the depths of my heart, you are doing better than you think you are. You really are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.